So today we've come together for a day of meditation practice. We call this Patipati Puja. Patipati means practice or training. Puja means worship or showing reverence, respect. And the Buddha once said that there's two ways to show our reverence, respect for a Buddha. One is through amisa puja, which means making offerings, material offerings, supporting the Sangha in a material way. And the other is through patipati puja, through actually practicing the teachings in our daily life. Practicing dana, keeping precepts, meditating to develop and improve our minds, and ultimately to free our minds from all stress, all suffering. So this is why meditation is such an essential part of the Buddhist path. So today we have a chance to practice sitting and walking meditation. And when we're sitting, maybe if you're new to meditation, you might practice what we call anapanasati, mindfulness of breathing, using your breath as the focus of your mindfulness, learning to put your attention on the feeling of the in and out breath as you're sitting, as a way of bringing up more continuous mindfulness. By knowing the breath, we know ourselves, we know our minds. Our minds are staying in the present moment. When we lose our mindfulness, we lose our concentration, our mind gets distracted. Get distracted by thoughts of the past, get distracted by thoughts about the future, and so on. But when we place our mindfulness, our attention on the breath, then our mindfulness and our awareness is there, right in the present moment, with the breath. So for sitting meditation, the instruction is very clear. Know that your breath is going in, know that your breath is going out. And this is a way of training our mind. When we practice walking meditation, same. We're learning to bring up this quality of mindful awareness, keeping our mind in the present moment as we walk back and forth. So later on, when you go out to practice walking meditation outside, you might find a spot where you can walk back and forth, maybe on the veranda or in a space in the grounds. Maybe you need 10, 15 meters. And you compose yourself and start walking maybe a little bit slower than usual. Walk back and forth. Focusing your mind on your feet, maybe the feeling of your feet touching the ground. And every time a thought, distracting thought comes up, you bring your attention back to the feeling of the feet touching the ground, lifting, stepping down, the pressure on your feet. That's the technique for walking meditation. And why do we practice meditation in this way? Well, there's two main benefits. The first, if you were to put into a modern term, you'd say stress relief. We're practicing stress relief as we meditate. As we learn to be mindful of our breath, or mindful of the movement of the feet as we're walking, we have to let go of all our other thoughts, worries, concerns at that time. If we're to become mindful of the breathing, we necessarily have to let go of everything else. This is a skill that we can train in, we can develop. And as you develop this skill, your mind becomes more steady, more firm. The feeling of stress that you might have had starts to disappear. And this is the first benefit. As you practice mindfulness, you feel better in yourself, feel happier, more calm. And the second benefit is we gain a sense of peace and calm which we can use to contemplate, to develop wisdom, understanding. And when your mind is calm, you can see things. You can see where stress comes from. And not just the temporary mood or feeling of stress or unhappiness or suffering that you have. But as you progress in your meditation, you can actually see the roots of all suffering in our minds. And the Buddha said the roots of our suffering are the qualities of greed, hatred, delusion. The word the Buddha used is kilesa, which we translate as mental defilements. Sometimes they translate as mental afflictions. When greed or anger afflicts the mind, we feel suffering, we experience suffering. When the mind is free from greed, free from anger, it's peaceful. But in order to free the mind from greed, from anger, from delusion, we have to train it in mindfulness, to catch those mental states as they arise, to recognize them, to know, oh, this is the cause of suffering. To know if you hold on to thoughts of greed, anger, delusion, you'll suffer. If you let them go, then you have a chance to be free from suffering. Again, a very simple theory, but as we all know, brings up challenges and difficulties in the practice, because not everything is easy to let go of. So this is why we train, we practice in mindfulness, to improve our skill, our ability to let go of the causes of suffering, greed, anger, delusion. As we practice more, we gain more experience, more understanding, so then we do it better. So generally people who practice over a long period of time, not just one day, maybe many months, years, they grow in their skill, their experience, they find more peace, more happiness from the practice. One good result of that is it brings us more faith, more confidence in the Buddhist teachings. As soon as we start to experience some peace, some happiness, we know for ourselves, oh, this is good. This is something that helps me. We can even see maybe that it can help other people, because as human beings we're all the same. Any human being who has greed or anger or is deluded will be generating suffering for themselves. Any human being who lets go of greed, anger, delusion will be experiencing more peace, more happiness. So not only do we learn to understand ourselves better, free our minds from stress, suffering through this practice of meditation, we also understand other people better. So we generally have more what we call metta and karuna. Metta means goodwill, kindness. Karuna means compassion, empathy, a wish to help others free themselves from suffering. And these are the results that come from the practice. So when we think of the Buddha, we say the Buddha is somebody who had Maha Karuna. Maha means great, large amount. Karuna means compassion. So the Buddha had great compassion. If we read the scriptures, the Buddha's life story, he was somebody who had practiced the Dhamma just like we are today, over many, many lifetimes though, with a single aim to gain enlightenment, to become a Buddha, for not only for his own benefit, but for the benefit of all beings, everybody. So once the Buddha was enlightened, he spent the rest of his life, 45 years, teaching. And many people learnt to meditate in the time of the Buddha, just like we're practicing today. And many people became enlightened. Not just monks, nuns, but also laymen, laywomen, through practicing these teachings. When we begin our practice though, we have to be very patient and willing to put effort into the practice. The Buddha used to say, "Viriyena dukkhamacchedi." Through perseverance or persistent effort, we will overcome our stress, our suffering. And this is one issue that sometimes brings up misunderstanding, usually for people who don't meditate, when they're looking at other people who meditate, or they're thinking maybe they might meditate themselves. And they say, when you meditate, it looks like you're just sitting there doing nothing. Very passive. So sometimes people criticize Buddhism. They say, oh, Buddhism teaches people just to be passive, not do anything. But anybody who's practiced meditation, and you'll see that today, will know if you're really training your mind in mindfulness, it takes a lot of effort. It's not being totally passive. Physically, maybe you're not doing a lot. You sit still, or you're walking quietly back and forth. But mentally, you may be putting forth a lot of effort, viriya. And it takes effort to train the mind because we have a lot of attachment. There's a lot of greed, anger, delusion in there. You might compare it to cleaning your house. Like at the moment, it's springtime. We might be spring cleaning. Ajahn Chah used to call the mind like your real home. Your real dwelling place is not your external home, it's your internal home, meaning your mind. If you're happy, it's because your mind is experiencing happiness. If you're suffering, it's because your mind is experiencing suffering. He said our mind is our real home. But like your physical home, your house, if you're to do spring cleaning, sometimes just the thought of it is already off-putting. If you're going to go and clean your house, you just think ahead, oh, that room, and then there's this problem, and there's that problem. Maybe you don't even want to begin your spring cleaning of your house because there's so much you know you have to clear up. There's junk you have to throw out. There's dirty, unpleasant corners of your house that need to be cleaned up. Just the thought of it already, you don't want to do it. Or even as you start doing it, and you find more and more things that need to be cleaned, sorted, rubbish to throw out, you get tired. Maybe you want to give up. Oh, it's just too much of hard work. And meditation can be like that. As soon as you start meditating, sit down, follow the instructions, breathe in, breathe out, all kinds of thoughts come up. A lot of our thoughts are junk. They just come up and they have no real purpose, no real meaning. We have memories, we have random thoughts, ideas pop into the head. Other thoughts are very unpleasant. Maybe thoughts of, we have a lot of greed or obsession with things. Maybe we have a lot of irritation, ill will, even hatred rooted in our minds, deep down. We don't even want to look at it, don't want to get to know it. Sometimes all of this stuff comes up, so it's very challenging. We sit there and all kinds of moods, memories come up, and they lead us to feel very discouraged with our own mind and state of mind. We say, oh, I just can't meditate, there's too much to do, too much like hard work. Or maybe we even feel sad. We see what's in our minds, it's not what we want, it's not what we're looking for, but rather than work with it, learn to let go of these thoughts, these moods, we just run away. So maybe we give up the meditation. Just like someone with a really messy house, maybe they just give up, don't want to clean their house. So the Buddha said we have to depend on perseverance, persistent effort. Keep bringing up effort as we meditate. So if we're doing mindfulness of breathing meditation, sitting here, our main effort is to bring up the awareness of the feeling of the in-breath and the out-breath. Tip of the nostrils, you find that feeling there. As the breath goes in, you know it. Breath goes out, you know it. If the mind wanders away, distracted, as soon as you realize, you bring your attention back to the in-breath, out-breath. You don't let it stray very far and not for long. If you keep practicing like this, then you start to experience some calm, some peace. Because you keep letting go of the different thoughts, distractions, feelings, sensations, memories. You're letting them go, so the mind gets a good rest. It starts to feel brighter, happier, because you're letting go of everything else. If you're able to maintain your mindfulness with the breath for a while, you'll start to feel very relaxed, calm. And even if it's only for a few minutes, that will be something very special for you, because you'll know that the practice of meditation really works. It really helps us to be more calm inside. That's something you know for yourself. Nobody else can, whatever anybody else says, doesn't matter. You know for yourself that you're peaceful. It even becomes enjoyable. It's actually enjoyable to meditate. the more you do it. Once you get over that hurdle of dealing with the distractions and facing up to whatever you have in your mind, then it becomes enjoyable. Even if you see a very ugly thought, nasty, horrible thought, you know you can return to the breath, you can let that thought go. So you feel a lot more confident, more happy in yourself. And that gives you the energy and the strength to keep practicing. As we practice more, we also learn from our experience. So the Buddha encouraged us to contemplate, to look, to see what's going on. And you learn that every thought, whether good or bad, beautiful or ugly, has one thing in common. Every thought we have is impermanent, anicca. It arises, and then it ceases. We have a thought about something or other, comes up, then it goes away again. It's not permanent, it's not the same thought, always the same thought in our mind. Meditation is showing this to us. We're seeing thoughts come and go, come and go. Not just thoughts, we see our memories pop up, pass away, and then the experience of the world around us. Sounds, seeing things, hearing things, tasting things when we have food, drink, smelling things, and touching things. All our senses are teaching us something. They're saying, everything I sense through my ears, my eyes, my tongue, my nose, are all impermanent experiences. They change, they come, they go. The more you meditate, the more you learn to see this. You teach yourself. Real happiness is not with all these external things, all the things that we can buy with money, all the material things, the beautiful things of this world, other people even, who we experience through our senses. Ultimately, all of them are impermanent. Seeing of impermanence like this, the Buddha said, this is true wisdom, true understanding. Helps our mind to be truly peaceful. Like the first benefit of meditation, stress relief, calming down, even that is not yet, you might say, lasting happiness. It's good and it's necessary, but as we already know, we become peaceful and happy in our meditation. We get up, we walk away, and all the peace can disappear, back to square one. But he said the peace that comes through wisdom, through understanding truth, stays. It's what we call insight. True seeing, true understanding of the way things are. So insight or wisdom is even more valuable than just the feeling of peace we get from meditation. Because true insight stays with us all the time. Stops us getting deluded. Stops us misunderstanding things. So you know, this body I inhabit, this body I was born with, that's grown up, it's getting older. We know one day it must get old and die. We can't avoid that. It's impermanent. The things of this world our houses, our property, the places we go, the people we know, our family, friends, all impermanent. We have to separate from them sooner or later. This understanding brings true peace to the mind. The more we see impermanence, the more our heart and mind accepts impermanence, the more peace we have. When we contemplate impermanence, we can let go easily. Let go of our worries, let go of our greed, let go of our anger. So the wisdom, the understanding we get from meditation, the Buddha said, is the most valuable thing of all. Knowing the truth. He said, if something is impermanent in its nature, it arises, it passes away. If you look carefully, you must also accept that that thing is not self. We don't own it. That experience, that feeling, that thought, all material things, we don't own because they're impermanent. This is perhaps the hardest thing for us to see in meditation, that we don't own anything. But if we keep contemplating, we come to that understanding. And it releases the mind from all the greed, anger and delusion. Makes the mind the most peaceful of all, the happiest of all, when we understand that we don't own anything. Sounds strange, because in the world, people, our culture, our society, generally we want to own everything, and we are taught and brought up that we want to own many things, have many things, and that will make us happy. But the Buddha looked more deeply at the nature of this world, the physical world, the mental world, body, mind. He said, whether you claim to own it or not, you don't own it. You can't own this world. You can't own the things of this world. It's only through contemplating that you'll come to understand that, and your mind will accept that truth and be at peace. So we can be at peace when we let go of the ownership of our body, meaning, doesn't mean to say we stop eating and looking after our body, just means we know one day it must die. It's not going to be with us forever. The people we love, one day we must separate from them. They won't be with us forever. When your mind sees that, we can let go, can be at peace. To contemplate like this, we have to keep looking inside at our own minds. And this is why we practice meditation. We practice mindfulness, we contemplate to bring up wisdom, insight, and then little by little we get to know the way things are. Sometimes insight very, very quick, comes up very simply, very easily. You're meditating, and a thought that you've been holding on to, causing you stress, you say, it's really time just to drop this, let it go. And you have enough mindfulness at that moment, you just let that thought go. And already you're free. Maybe in just 1 second you can be free from suffering. It may only be temporary, but you understand this is the way that we have to practice. And maybe just that one temporary relief of suffering is very important to you. Maybe you've been angry with somebody, keep thinking about them without mindfulness, without wisdom. Just keep thinking about that person, what they said, what they did. Then you realize I'm suffering. As long as I hold on to these angry, negative thoughts, I'm suffering. So at that moment you realize that, you let go. Stop thinking in that way. You realize those thoughts weren't you anyway. They're what we call not self. You don't really own the thought. You can just let it go. It's gone, finished. When it's finished, you know, it's not self. It's gone. That experience, that feeling of pain or suffering is gone. You're free. Any of us can experience that as we meditate, letting go of some suffering. And the best kind of letting go is when it doesn't come back to bother you again, because you really know, you really understand. No point getting angry, I'm suffering, so you just let go, finish. Or it could be greed, when we're really obsessed with getting something that we haven't got. We want it, we're trying, thinking about it all the time, until one day we realize this is just endless suffering. So we let go. Again, the mind becomes free. So the Buddha encouraged us to practice like this. Practice mindfulness of breathing, practice walking meditation. One other practice that we might try today is mindfulness of loving kindness, metta bhavana. Push the door. Loving kindness meditation is a very valuable way that we use to nourish our mind. We have food for the body, we eat every day. We have plenty of good food in Australia. None of us are starving. But we often forget to take the food for our mind, which is the Dhamma. And metta, kindness, goodwill, is an essential food. I think how many vitamin supplements and special diets we spend money on. This is a special dietary supplement that's free and it's essential, but often we just ignore it. We don't cultivate kindness to ourselves, kindness to others. So part of meditation is developing goodwill, kindness to ourselves, reflecting as we just chanted, may I be well, may I be free from anxiety, free from hostility, free from ill will. Reciting that and generating a true loving feeling for oneself. And then turning to others. May everyone be free from hostility, free from ill will, free from suffering. Maybe at the beginning of your meditation session, before you practice mindfulness of breathing, you practice metta bhavana first, just to calm the mind and bring up a very wholesome state, a feeling of well-being. If we do this, then our meditation tends to go better, become easier. When we bring up the thought of kindness, friendliness, then we have to be a good friend to ourselves. And if you think about it, a good friend, what are they like? And a good friend, they support you when you do good. They give you words of encouragement. When you're suffering, they comfort you, help you. If you do something wrong or bad, they tell you. A true friend, a good friend is like that. So when we meditate on loving kindness, we're not just telling ourselves everything is all right, not to worry and then do nothing. It's not as simple as that. We're cultivating the thought, may I be well, may I be free from suffering. So then as we practice metta, if we see a thought, an intention that's wrong, that's causing us suffering, then the metta, the goodwill, is that part of the mind that says, this is what you must change, must let go. You know, just like a parent teaching their kid, they don't just spoil the kid and let them do exactly what they want all the time. A good parent will give the child support and comfort, but they'll also tell them, teach them what's right and wrong. And if they're doing something wrong, they'll try to stop them, prevent them, so that they can learn and also to stop them harming, causing harm for themselves. True metta is like that. When you see an angry thought or selfish thought, jealous thought, your mind, the mind of metta, has to tell you, give this up. This is wrong. This is causing you suffering. That's metta as just as much as saying, I wish you well, I hope you're happy. Metta is also teaching us to free the mind from the causes of suffering. So sometimes, like a good friend, our metta has to tell us what's wrong, or where we're going wrong. And that, it's not always easy. We have to be a bit tough. You might say tough love. Tough on ourselves, meaning we face up to what's going on in our mind and be honest and say, give ourselves an honest appraisal. Oh, this is good, I must do more of this is right, correct. But what's not good, you have to be honest, that's not good, that's to be given up. The more we do this, the more metta we have, and the more understanding we have, the quicker our meditation will progress. Our mind will be free from stress all the quicker, because we're willing to actually let go of the causes of stress by being honest, recognizing them, telling ourselves what to do. Ajahn Chah, my teacher, he used to say, you might have to have a conversation with yourself. You know, it's easy to find fault and tell everybody else around you what they should be doing and improve the world in that way. It's difficult to see what we should be doing ourselves. But meditation allows us to do that. It's helping us to see our own minds and what we need to do to change them, improve them, what we need to give up, what we need to develop. We don't give up everything. Some things we need to develop, bring up more metta, more mindfulness, more contentment, more wisdom, less greed, less anger, less delusion. So there's those qualities you bring up, develop, and those qualities you have to let go of, abandon. So there's much to do as we meditate today. I've given you some basic instruction on learning to focus on the feeling of the breath while we're sitting. While we're walking, focus on the feeling of the feet touching the ground. You can follow the breath while you're walking, but most people find in the beginning it's too difficult because of the movement of the body. Easier just to focus on the feet and the movement of feet rising, falling. And try to develop mindfulness, awareness, and know yourself as you meditate, whether you're sitting, whether you're walking. And practice letting go of all the negative, stressful thoughts that come up. And that will mean that this day is something very useful for you, very valuable. So later on, I'll give you some more instruction. We just have a few minutes left at the end of this session, so we can just sit quietly, practicing mindfulness of breathing till you hear the bell.